Hello and welcome to my video lecture on XML. We've talked about XML, we've talked about the schema object and the data object and data files. I have found that it is usually most effective to actually show you what XML is. So for instance, we've got our customer T table, right? We double click on it, we take a look at it, we see that we've got 16 records, right? Got the customer IDs, customer name, address, city, state, the code, right? We're fairly familiar with this, we've been playing with these tables for a while. So what's nice is that if we click on external data, there's a whole export section. And what we can do is we can export customer T table. So while it's selected, if I click on XML file, I get a little wizard. And what it's going to do is it's going to put this in my documents as customer T.xml. I'm going to say that's fine. I'm going to click OK. Here we can select what information we want exported. So we want our data exported. I'm going to export the schema, right, so that we can take a look at what that looks like. And might as well do the presentation so we can look at everything. All right, if I click on more options, it just gets pretty ridiculous. So we're just going to stick with that. I'm going to click OK. It has exported the XML successfully. We don't need to save the export steps, and we can click close. And now if I go and I look in my documents, I see that now I have an XML file, an XSD file, and an XSL file. So if I open up the XML, well, let me just double click and see what it opens up with. Yeah, there's Notepad. Okay, so just what we've seen in the previous videos, it's version 1, UTF encoding. We've got our data root. In this case, it's using the Office data since it was exported from a Microsoft Office product. It uses the World Wide Web Consortium schema instance. And this is a customer. And again, if I scroll over, you can see that it's customer T.xsd. So when you send this to someone, they're going to need the schema object, because the schema object will tell them what this file contains. Remember, this is the data file, this is the XML file. So when we look at the XML file, we can see we've got an instance of a customer T, right? So this is where the instance starts, that's the begin tag. We see customer ID is 1, customer name, right? Contemporary casuals, we see their address, we see their city, we see their state, we see their state, we see their postal code, right? And then we see the end tag for that customer. And that repeats all the way through. Okay? And then we have our end data root tag. All right, so that's, you know, so sometimes it's more familiar to see the data that you're familiar with exported. Let's take a look at the XSD file. So if I double click on that, oh, okay. Figured it would open up with Notepad, but it didn't. So we'll select from the list. Oh good, I have Notepad++. To know that I installed that on this. I love Notepad++, by the way. Does a much better job of displaying. See, look how much nicer this is than Notepad. Actually, I'm going to open up the XML file with Notepad++ as well. See how much nicer that is? They're different colors, but makes it much easier to read. That is a much easier read than at a Notepad. And now that I'm in Notepad++, I have tabs. So here, again, we've got our version and our encoding. We've got our schema, right, based on the definition from the World Wide Web. Our element data name is going to be data root, as we can see, right? So we started with data root. That's what our schema definition tells us. Got our sequence, right? So this is going to be a complex type. We've got a sequence. This knows that this is an auto number, right? Because we exported it out of Access. And it tells us min occurs 0, max occurs is unbounded, that it's generated, and then we've got a date time that ends our complex. And again, you have to remember that the sequence, I'm not going to get into that. And then we've got our application info. So we've got indexes, right? We've got our primary keys, whether or not it's unique, the different indexes that are associated with it, table properties, right? Default views. So this is sending everything out about this table that we've saved. So we have column widths, right? So if we've gone into Microsoft Access and changed the widths, it'll maintain that all the way through. So we have our customer address, our customer city, right? Our customer state and what the column width is, all that kind of stuff. So this is, a fairly complex schema object. And then we've got our XSL. And again, this is going to tell us how we are going to display this. So this would be used as our XSLT type of language. Okay? Alright, strong, we would actually bold some of this. I mean, you get the idea, right? I find that that a lot of my students catch this or absorb this better once they've seen an actual export from the database. I encourage you to do it with another table and to take a look and see what you see. But that is the end of my XML example.